degrees. But nonetheless, it feels like winter here in the Northeast, but then again, it kind of also feels like 2024
Aren't
after
y'all
yesterday.
Excited though?
About winter?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You live in the
We're gonna
city.
have snow. I grew up in South Carolina where we just prayed and prayed for snow.
Really?
The school would close like once every 10 years.
You could have moved.
You know what our kids would do?
Yeah, when I was 6 by myself.
Ainsley, you know what our kids would do growing up if they
What?
wanted snow the next day? Well, there are a couple of things.
Okay.
You wear your pajamas inside out. You put a spoon under your pillow. And you also flush ice cubes down the toilet.
Did it ever work?
No, but they still did it.
It's cute, though.
Because kids like snow, grown-ups don't.
That's a beautiful little town. It looks like a little Christmas village.
It's up the road about a couple hundred miles. Anyway, I said not only does it look like winter, how delightful is that, but it also looks like 2024. That's because the race for the White House is officially underway as of 9 o'clock last night.
That's right. Former President Donald Trump launching his presidential campaign at his Mar-a-Lago house last night after months of speculation.
Griff Jenkins is live from Palm Beach, Florida, where he is gloating that it's really nice.
It's not snowing there.
It's gone up to 73 degrees, nothing but sunshine, guys, not a cloud in the sky. And history was made last night here at Mar-a-Lago when former President Trump announced he is indeed running the first out of the gate on the Republican side. He was joined by Eric and Laura Trump. Laura, who was on the show earlier, along with his youngest son, Barron, in Mar-a-Lago, also his son-in-law, Jared. Here is some of his announcement last night. Watch.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. America's comeback starts right now. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. This campaign will be for you.
He spoke for just under 64 minutes and detailed a list of things he wants to accomplish in a national greatness agenda like tackling crime, education, and overhauling the FBI and DOJ. And no surprise here, he went after President Biden. Listen.
I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years. In 2020, our country could not take that. And I say that not in laughter. I say that in tears. Our country could not take 4 more years. It can only take so much.
Biden reacted in this very short, terse tweet saying Donald Trump failed America. Meanwhile, up in Orlando, Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis, was addressing the Republican Governors Association winter meeting just fresh off that victory landslide last week, and he is now addressing criticism that Trump has sent his way. Here is what DeSantis had to say.
When you're leading, when you're getting things done, yeah, you take incoming fire. That's just the nature of it. All that's just noise. And really what matters is, are you leading? Are you getting in front of issues? Are you delivering results for people? And are you standing up for folks? And if you do that, then none of that stuff matters.
Now everyone wonders, will Governor DeSantis challenge former President Trump? Only time will tell the answer to that. One final interesting note, I mentioned Jared Kushner was in Mar-a-Lago last night, but Ivanka was not. Fox News' Brooke Singman breaking an exclusive that she told Brooke, Ivanka that is, that she loves her dad, but she's going to sit this one out and not be involved in politics this time. Brian, Ainsley, and Steve, we'll send it back to you.
She'd had enough. All right. Thank you very much. You know, somebody who is the perfect person, the best person aside from Donald Trump himself to talk to about his candidacy, somebody who knows him very well, ran with him last time. We're talking about the former Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. He's got a brand new book out just this week. It's called So Help Me God. Mr. Vice President, good morning to you.
Good to be with you all. Good morning.
It's good to have you. So,
and we had snow in Indiana last week.
Oh.
Well,
you guys don't cancel school.
Yeah.
Go to school. Come on.
The Bible says we're not supposed to be jealous people, but can I be jealous of your snow?
It's coming.
Forgive me, Lord.
Mr. Vice President, so many Republicans had urged the former president, your running mate, wait until after Georgia because they want that Senate seat in Republican hands. He did not. Any idea why?
Well, that'd be a good question for him, Steve. I couldn't be more excited about the fact that House Republicans are going to secure a majority. Kevin McCarthy is going to be the next Speaker of the House, and I'm anxious to see Herschel Walker, although it won't be a majority in the Senate. I'm anxious to see Herschel Walker be elected in that special election in Georgia. And I think the American people are really focused there. But it's a free country. The president's entitled to announce his intentions whenever he desires. But I honestly believe that we'll have better choices come 2024. You know, I don't think anybody could have...
Better choices than Donald Trump?
I do. I don't think anyone could have beaten Hillary Clinton other than Donald Trump in 2016. I write that in my new book. I learned that on the campaign trail with him in 2016, and the record that we created, that I know he reflected on last night, where we rebuilt our military, revived our economy, secured our border, appointed conservatives to our courts at every level, is something that I'll always be proud of. But as I've traveled around the country over the last 2 years, people have repeatedly come up to me and said, you know, we want to get back to the policies of the Trump-Pence administration, but I think there's a genuine desire for leadership that could unite the country around our highest ideals, and leadership that would reflect, I think, more of the civility and respect that Americans show each other every day. You know, I'm out of politics now, and once you get out of politics and we move back to Indiana, you realize the American people actually get along pretty well most days, and it's our politics that's deeply divided. I just think I think I have a sense the American people want a new style of leadership that'll reflect the way they deal with one another every day.
Did you feel at the time during those 4 years the president was being unnecessarily divisive?
No, you know, look, the Republican voters and then the American people elected Donald Trump, and I think he was the right man at the right time for America. I joined that ticket in 2016, Brian, without hesitation, because I thought the country was in a lot of trouble, and it was. Can you even imagine if we'd have had 4 years of Hillary Clinton in the White House? The Supreme Court alone would have been lost to the left for generations. And Donald Trump was elected not just because of his agenda, but because of that style. People very much wanted that style to confront an establishment in Washington, D.C. that wasn't listening to the American people anymore. Now I believe we're in a different season in the life of the nation, and I don't know what role my family and I will play in that debate over the next 2 years. We'll sort that out in the days ahead, but I hear people say we want to get back to the policies that I write about, and so help me God. I'm incredibly proud of what we accomplished in that season, but I do sense that we'll have better choices and leadership that will unite the people around those timeless American values.
I know that you're on the short list of people that have mentioned, or people in the political realm have mentioned they would like you. I know they would like you, possibly Ron DeSantis and others to run for president. I know you told Sean Hannity on Fox that you and Karen would decide over Christmas. All of your children will be back together. The whole family will be together for the first time in 3 years. Will you make the announcement in January, or will you wait till the summer? When do most people make the announcement?
You know, Ainsley, a friend of mine, said a long time ago, there's two kinds of people in politics. People that are driven and people that are called. And if you read So Help Me God, you'll see I was both. I mean, I try and be candid about early in my political career, I let my ambition get ahead of what I believe my faith as a Christian requires of me in the way that I carry myself in the public square. But when it came back around 10 years later with 3 little kids, Karen and I just took the matter to prayer, and we felt called to step forward in 2000. I had the privilege, as I write, to be a conservative leader in the Congress of the United States, to be governor of the state of Indiana, and ultimately vice president of the United States. But all along the way for us, it was always, where do we feel like the Lord is calling us? And I can tell you, when our family gathers, and you're right, with 2 in the military and deployments, our family actually hasn't been together for 3 years. We're all going to be together this Christmas. We'll talk, we'll pray, we'll reflect, and then Karen and I will make a decision based upon that sense of calling in our lives.
Can you bring us to that last conversation you had with the president in the Oval Office? You said, I'm going to pray for you, and he said, don't bother. Will you describe that exchange? You do in your book, but why don't you, for the people that haven't gotten it yet?
Well, sure, Brian. Look, I was always loyal to President Donald Trump. He was my president and he was my friend.
No one doubts that, by the way.
Whenever we had disagreements over the 4 years, I kept them in private. I felt that was my duty as vice president, to express myself to the president when we differed, but then to stand next to him in thick and thin, and make it clear that I was with him every step of the way. The only higher loyalty I had is to God and to the Constitution. And I made it clear to the president in the lead up to that tragic day in January that I believed my oath to the Constitution, that ended with a prayer, "So help me God," would require me to certify the election, an election that we had lost.
You had lawyers look at it, his lawyers look at it, your lawyers talk to his lawyers. You didn't feel you had any option.
No, there was no option. No vice president in American history had ever claimed that authority. And, you know, as I said more than a year ago, there's maybe no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
Yeah.
The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. But we had a clash. It had to be public because of the nature of the moment. I'll always believe that I did my duty under the Constitution.
And can I stop you one for a second? Jared Kushner said to you, the president's inside. Would you want to go speak to him? And other people thought that you were going to say no, and you said, no, I'll go talk to him. First time since it happened.
Actually, as I write in the book, Jared and Ivanka came to my office 5 days after January 6th. And they asked if I'd be willing to speak to the president. I had not heard from him, and I had made no effort to reach out to him. But I said, if the president has something to say to me, I'll hear him out. And I went into his office, and after he made inquiries about Karen and Charlotte, who'd been with me at the Capitol the entire time on January 6th, all the way till 4 in the morning, he asked me what I'd felt that day, and I told him I was angry. We had our differences, and seeing those people ransacking the Capitol infuriated me. My only thought was not this, not here, not in America.
Right.
But I was very candid with him. We were very straightforward with each other. I sensed in the president, as I write, a genuine remorse about what had happened. And in the days that followed that, we spoke again and again in the 2 weeks remaining of the administration. But on that day that you ask about, I sensed the president was still saddened by what had occurred. And I just reminded him, as I had at the beginning of our first conversation, that I was praying for him. I prayed for that president almost every day during our administration.
Mm-hmm.
And he was dismissive about it at first.
Don't bother.
But then a few minutes later, as I got up to leave the room, I looked at him as he sat at the end of the little table in the dining room just off the Oval Office. And I said, well, I guess there's just two things we're probably always going to disagree on. And he looked up at me and faintly said, what? And I said, referred to my role on January 6th. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I'm never going to stop praying for you. And he looked at me and said, that's right, don't ever change.
Yeah.
Now, we parted amicably, and I know that's hard for many people to believe, but when you're in a political foxhole with someone for 4.5 years, when you're a part of something that I think was consequential in the life of the nation, that made our nation stronger and more prosperous, when you endured unprecedented opposition from day one in the administration, whether it be the Russia hoax, the impeachment for a phone call, or all the constant rubric of the left and the media that came under the title of the resistance, we had formed a bond, and I left with a sense of that. The administration didn't end well, but we parted amicably. But in the days that followed, we spoke from time to time by phone. But I have to be honest, when I saw the president return to the rhetoric he was using before January 6th, being critical not only of me, but of others that had taken a stand for the country.
who runs for president needs a lot of money. The mega donors, so far, it doesn't look like they're